welcome to the Tech Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, BJ Hamaker, the CMO of Nucleus. Tech Therapy is here to save you from busy work so you can focus on what's fulfilling and profitable. Stick around to the end of the show. We'll reveal how you can be our next guest in around 20 minutes. Let's go. We're here with Adam Kipnes, who is a coach on profitability and marketing. It's nice to meet you, Adam.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. This will be fun.
So tell me what you do as Coach Adam Kipnes.
The first thing I do is I like to do three things when I get to know my clients. Like, honestly, number one, I want them to like me enough to take my phone calls. That's it. Like, if they don't do that, then it's not a great working relationship.
That's a great first step.
Number two is I want to find out what they need or what they want. I want to figure out what I have or what I know, and then figure out where do those two things meet. So how can I take their needs and wants, the people I know, the information I know, the stuff I've done, meet in the middle? And that's where the magic happens. That's where things really get done. And then the third level is I want them to think, I better call Adam before I do anything, because he probably has a client that's dealt with it. I don't want to step on a landmine if someone else has. So high level, that's what I like to do with all of my clients.
Yeah. So, I mean, that really does feel like coach, right? Because if my foot's too far forward when I'm swinging my bat and I keep missing, and I think it's because I'm swinging incorrectly, but it's actually my stance. Like, I don't know what I'm getting wrong. And so I could say like, hey, did you see that one? Be like, your foot's too far forward. That's great, because just every single person only knows what they know, but you happen to know what other people know. That's kind of a superpower, right? I mean, the people will silo to different degrees, and it's not like I only have one skill, right? But like, I don't have a catalog of all the skills, and I don't know what I'm missing. And that's something that's just been on my mind for the last week. We were writing out some ad copy, and we realized that for our specific thing that we're trying to do right now, the phrase "what you don't know can hurt you" is super accurate. And you've got like way more of that than I do, of course. But also it like happens to be your line of business, which is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and it's super fun because business is business, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but business really is business. And whether you're a shoemaker or whether you're a tech person or a coach or whether you run a hardware store, there's so many things about the business that we can work on, right? And we can get those things correct. The part that makes you different is, all right, where's the special sauce, either in your skill set or in what your clients need, and how do we bring those things together? And from a marketing perspective, when you're thinking about taglines and things, there's one thing that you need to do for marketing, and that's you need to enter the conversation that your prospect is having. Like, what's going on in their head? And it's usually around a problem they have that they don't want and a solution they want and they don't have.
Yeah.
If you know those two things, you can now insert yourself in the middle, and you can make a tagline, a vision statement, a marketing copy, a product that meets that in the middle. And if you can insert yourself in the middle, you will win every client, every prospect that comes in your door, because you know what they want and don't have and what they want to get rid of. That's it, right? That's the basics of it. You start there, and then we can build some really cool stuff for every business based on that premise.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, business means transaction, and anything that's lacking on my way to getting what you have, it's just an obstacle, and for every problem there's a solution. So it's a coolish perspective to think of the fundaments of it. I like that a lot. How did you get into this line of business, this marketing and profitability coaching?
It was a process. It was a very strange process. It was mainly around how my brain works than what I actually thought I wanted to do. So I've been working with small businesses for the better part of 25 years. I started my own. Actually, I was in Europe and was teaching English, and I was teaching this family English, and they referred me to another family and another family and another family. And now I had 15 clients and was teaching English to all these kids.
Wow.
I came back to the States and was like, business is easy. let me go do this. And so I start doing business, and it's, cold calling and frustration. And I didn't know marketing. I didn't know advertising. I'm a liberal arts guy. I learned history and poli-sci in college. They didn't teach me a whole lot about business or building a business. And then I was like, all right, this isn't going to work. I better go work for somebody. And in that, I found out I was really good at identifying problems in operational workflow, where capacity issues were coming. I started working with businesses along those lines. And then my wife saw an ad on Facebook, which is how every painful story in the world starts. And we go to an event, and we go to this event, and it was on real estate investing, and it was a great time in Arizona to understand that market. And so I got into doing some real estate investing in 2010, 11, and I started going to seminars, and we became sort of seminar junkies. So rather than going on vacation, we'd go to a seminar and build a couple of days of vacation around it.
Yeah.
Right? You can write it off, but also you learn something. But I didn't go to seminars in Des Moines. No offense to your listeners in Des Moines. I went to seminars in, San Diego and Hawaii and, Miami. I like water and beaches. And so we do this.
I don't think most people in Des Moines would be offended by the clear statement that it's not really designed for tourists. Like, I'm sure it's nice, but do they want tourists there? That's a good question. But anyway, keep going.
I'm a Wisconsin kid. I grew up in the Midwest. I loved it there. It was a great place to grow up. But aside from the lake outside of Milwaukee, the rest of Milwaukee it's great if you live there, but I live not there anymore. Go Packers, go Brewers. And so I started going to these seminars, and I'm learning all these things from, gurus and business people and speakers and all this knowledge of success. And what I found was I was coming back and working with clients, and I was bringing that information to my clients. And then I started to go to some more and having success. They were having success, which means I was having success. And then I went to a seminar, and they started talking about coaching. I'm like, what is this coaching thing you speak of?
So it was a real estate seminar, but then they started to talk about coaching, or this was like one speaker to talk about coaching, or was it a coaching seminar?
So it started out as real estate, and then started out as success, and then success. So you want real estate success. How do you get success in real estate? You hire a coach. Okay. And they start, hiring a coach. And I was a marginal, athlete as a kid, but I had coaches. I played tennis and baseball and was on the swim team, and I had coaches. So I knew it from that perspective, but it never really occurred to me that I would hire someone on the business side.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, all right, what is this coaching thing? And I realized this is what I'm doing. I just didn't call it that.
Right. You did it the expensive way. You flew all over the world to get 5 relevant minutes of coaching out of a 2-day seminar. Correct. Many times in a row. And I said, okay, I guess I'm a coach. But what I realized in this process is that I'm able to hear people say stuff. Yeah.
Lock it away in my brain, talk to a client, they bring up something, I can take that little nugget off its little bookshelf and deliver it in the right time to the right person. And
I have a suspicion.
Works, and the business was born.
I have a suspicion it'll even a little better than that, because I think what you can do is you can take the nugget and you put it on the shelf, and you look at all the other nuggets, and you create like a super nugget of the abstract concepts where all those nuggets overlap, and you put that on an even higher shelf. And sometimes you pull that one down in a situation that's completely new to you, but you have this principle you've extracted that you can share with people. That's just my suspicion.
I don't think you're that far off. I don't know if you've ever taken the Gallup Strengths Finder. Right?
I love it.
All right. Strengths Finder. My number one strength is context.
Ooh,
I put everything in the world into the context of what I know.
That's incredible.
And then that's how I'm able to pull these nuggets out. And my clients were having more success. I was having more success. I transformed the business from sort of the corporate helper side into the one-on-one coaching side. And I would go to more seminars and get more nuggets. And I don't know what was falling out of the other side because our brains only have so much capacity, but I was able to hold all of these nuggets in. And now I've built a business around it where people bring me their problems.
Yeah.
I ask them a few thoughtful questions, and boom, now we have a nugget that I learned somewhere that they can implement and see transformative results. And that's where it came from. And that's how I got into it.
That's totally awesome. So what kind of impact is it having right now? Maybe you can share with us, some accomplishments or some specific wins that you've had.
So I believe, I go into every conversation, this one included, that I can fundamentally change your business or life with one idea, one question, or one conversation. Like, that's just the way I think about things. It doesn't always work, but that's the goal. And so when I work with my clients, I know that they have a fundamental benefit. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's structural. On the financial side, 4 of my clients have gone from under 6 figures to over 7 figures inside of 3 years. 22 of my clients have crossed the $1 million mark in revenue, and north of 30 have gone from under 6 figures to over 6 figures. And a lot of businesses I work with, especially during the pandemic, right? There were lots of new businesses, lots of stuck businesses, lots of pivoting. The word of the pandemic, right, was pivot. Are you pivoting? Right. Yeah. And so I've had financial success with my clients. But one of the stories that is my favorite, I have 2 stories. One, 2 clients, they were business partners, not married. Their revenue is $80,000 a year combined in San Francisco.
Ouch.
That's rent and ramen.
Yeah.
Right. That's about it. And using one strategy that we came up with that worked for them, they grew that business to 1.2 million in 3.25 years without spending any money on marketing or advertising. Right. They used one strategy, which was finding an identical firm that was bigger and living off the scraps. So they said, who do you not want? We'll take them. And they built a business that was 1.2 million in revenue. They ended up working 3 days a week, and we're each taking home, give or take, $450,000-$500,000.
That's so clever.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, that's one of the best things you can possibly do. When I do search engine optimization, what I do is I use tools to reverse engineer someone else's strategy, find out what of it can be implemented for me, and I do that for like 3 to 5 competitors. If I'm doing what all my best competitors are doing, but I'm doing 3 of that or 5 of that, I win, period.
Yes.
And so for like a couple who are already working together, they've already got, their team dynamic, and they already know their business to some degree, you could see what the biggest immediate win was, and they were able to implement it. That is seriously fantastic.
Yeah. My successes for my clients actually says more about them than it does about me, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a conduit. I'm hopefully here to help give ideas and nuggets and ask the right questions, but they took the action. They knew what needed to be done, and they actually did it, right? I've got a client who he does anything I tell him to do. Like if I told him that naked skydiving is the key to marketing, he's on a plane ready to take off his clothes like the next day.
Yeah.
Those are great people. But a non-financial win, one of my clients actually here in Arizona, we were doing a 2-day like intensive, sit in an office with a whiteboard, the whole company's in there, whiteboard out the next 3 years of all their lives. And I said, hey, we need the receptionist in the meeting. And she's like, I'm not supposed to be in that meeting. I was like, no, you need to be in the meeting. The owner of the company, it's about an 8-person company, says, well, she can't be in this meeting. Who's going to answer the phones? I was like, you're not saving lives here, right?
Yeah, you can let the phone go to voice.
She'll check it, but she needs to be in this meeting. And neither one of them wanted each other in the meeting, and neither one understood it. But as we were going through the process, what they figured out is she was part of sales. And she didn't realize it. She's like, how am I part of sales? I don't sell. But I'm like, you're the first voice that anybody hears.
Absolutely.
You're the first person that anybody sees. Yeah. So if someone think about the time you go to the dentist or a doctor's office and you fill out the little thing, and then you sit there reading like a 3-month-old People magazine. And if that person isn't cool or talking to you, it's like the most uncomfortable 7 minutes of your life. But if someone comes in and you don't have to overtalk, but if they feel gracious, you offer them water,
Right.
they're comfortable there. And
they
then
feel like they could engage if they wanted to. Sometimes
correct.
That's all we need. Yeah.
Right. They feel comfortable in that
Welcome.
time. And when that prospect or client leaves, that's the last person they see. And so she's critical to the sales process that this particular company had. And what was interesting after this, he understood, the owner of the company understood why it was important. She understood that she had more value than just answering the phone.
Yeah.
Right. She was now bought in. The next day, for the second day of our 2-day, she dressed better. She asked questions of everyone in the office. Who's coming in? What are you going to talk about? Right. So now she could say,
you activated her and her eyes started glowing.
Right. And she went on actually to get a raise and another raise and actually got promoted to an operational role from receptionist because she understood what her role was. And so those are the kind of wins over and above financial that are super fun to see and are transformational for a business. And they never saw themselves. I mean, they were in this dynamic for 3 years before
basically avoiding each other.
Correct. She came in or did her 8 hours and played on the internet, between phone calls. I don't know what she did.
Yeah, nothing more than was asked, I'm sure.
Right. She dove in.
People don't always, by default, engage themselves in what they're doing, and maybe that's fine. You know what I mean? There's something to be said for like keeping it mellow, taking it easy. But obviously, in her case, she had farther to go and just didn't realize it, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, and once she found out what her value was, she wanted to live up to that value.
Yeah.
And he paid her for that value because she created more. It's just a really fun dynamic. And that's just a little small thing, but those are some of the funnest parts about working with clients. That's
so cool. One thing I wanted to know was, like, in your own terms, we had a brief conversation before this, but what's your secret sauce? And you told me that you have a strategy for creating the strategy. I called it a meta strategy. You've got like a big umbrella and you find out where the people are underneath that or whatever, and what their crucial biggest win is or something like that. Is there anything you can tell us about your meta strategy?
A lot of it's super secret, but for me, the key to everything is strategy. No matter what you're going to do, if you want to lose 10 pounds or build $1 million business or sell your business or go on a vacation, if you take a step back and make a strategy, it's going to be better than if you didn't. It just is. And I've built a framework, right? And my strategy is this framework. I call it custom because it's really easy for me to remember. And there's 6 stages to it. And then everything under that framework is going to be based on the business, right? It's not cookie cutter, but the strategy is that custom framework. And then the individual strategy underneath is going to be customized to that business, but using sort of this overarching plan. And it allows me to know what I'm talking about. Thankfully, it allows my clients to understand sort of where we are in the process and why we're doing the things that we're doing.
That's so valuable to me, at least. Yeah.
It walks people down that path.
Yeah. That's great because context isn't one of my top strengths. Mine is futuristic. So like I'm great at like seeing potential, working towards that potential, but it's kind of vague and it's super spacey. Okay. And so there are different ways of like rating a person's personality, and the Strengths Finder is extremely valuable in vocational pursuits, extremely valuable. And team building. I worked for a business where everybody had their Strengths Finder done, and everybody anytime their name was written, their top 5 strengths would be listed. We all knew that if you didn't understand why something was happening, getting someone with context or getting someone with, I don't remember the names of all the strengths, but if somebody understood process well, you could just find that person and be like, oh, okay, those 2 strengths definitely look like process to me. Let's get them on the team for like one meeting. Hey, what do you think's going on here? Here's a problem, And so the teams were all extremely flexible, all extremely helpful, and everybody felt like they were doing what they're best at because they were. And it was just incredible. I loved it so much, but I had to move out of state. So here I am. But anyway.
It's actually cool how that thing works. So I'm context and then soft skills, empathy, communication, adaptability, harmony, right? So I've got all these like soft skills, but the context was just sort of all right, let me put this thing in its little box from all these different pieces, but then I explain it really well. So, right, that's where my strength comes from, and it works very well. And thankfully my clients like it, which is wonderful.
That's fantastic. I'm sure they do. I mean, I just keep thinking about all the different things that have happened in my life because my mind wanders. That's part of my openness mentally. Yeah, like the endless number of things I've done completely without a strategy, and sometimes it's great, but whatever. Anyway, probably better in business to have a strategy. But I'd love to hear like where it's going. Obviously, you've been doing your career has evolved. You got past the seminar thing. You got some coaching, and now you're doing plenty of coaching. Where's it going next, or like what do you expect to happen over the next 2 to 5 years?
So a couple of different directions. You know, one of the things that I love doing is honestly using that framework, but being free form and figuring out where stuff goes. And it's great. It's successful. But I myself need to have a strategy of what I wanted to build and how I want to do it, and how can I serve and help more people. And so I've built a little baby version of what I do, right? So I can come in and get really deep with your clients and with my clients and learn from them and build a business and spend a lot of time, and it's great. But some people don't have the bandwidth, the capacity, or the finances, but still need the help.
Yeah.
And so I built another line of business where I work with my clients for 100 days. I call it a 100-day sprint. And we work for 100 days, either to solve a particular problem. Like if someone wanted an app built, you could work with them for 100 days, beginning to end, app built, implemented, and done. For many of my clients, it's, all right, we want to know where we're going in 1 year or 3 years, but we use the 100 days as a kickstart. So on that 101st day, everybody in the business knows exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it, who they're doing it for, what their specific role is in order to hit those 1 and 3 year goals. And so I've built this 100-day sprint model that I can work with more clients and really get people kickstarted. Obviously, I'd love for people to work with me past then and continue on, but so many people really just need that kickstart.
Yeah.
And that's where I come in. And that's, you know, the next 5 years is to build out as many 100-day sprints as I can for as many businesses as will allow me to.
That's really cool. It's a nice digestible amount of time. It's a nice round number, but like a third of a year, you know, 5 months. So wait, no, what is it? My math's all wrong. 3 months.
3.5.
Week or two. Yeah. All right. Anyway, that's like a decent amount of time to really focus. One of my things is focus, right? Like one of my problems, I mean, is focus. So
what?
Yeah. Having someone who's good at that help me to get good at that all by itself would be something. But then the fact that we're also striving together towards certain goals, I've got some accountability partner, which everyone desperately needs. Right now, the mastermind market's going crazy. You can sign up for paid mastermind groups and people find a lot of value in it. And that's interesting and everything. And a lot of times it's just accountability partnership. You could just do that by email, I guess, for free with somebody you trust. But that sounds really cool. I like that, a minified version of you where you can give 50 to 80% of the value that you'd be giving them, and they can pay 20 to 50% of the cost that it would have helped it cost to get that, or something like that. Really does, it strikes a new balance. Obviously, a ton of those people, they're going to get to trust you. They're going to love what you do for them, and they're going to stay on. But in the meantime, having that limited commitment just sounds like such a great market position for you. It really does.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And there were so many people. The coaching space is pretty vast, and there's lots of people who are coaches, but it fades. You could have a coach, but eventually you tune them out. That's why athletic coaches get fired every 2.5 to 4 years. Because
and then they hire somebody who just got fired from another thing. Because you got to change it out. It can't get stale.
Right. And you get methodic. So like if I said to you, we're going to talk every week for the rest of our lives, you know what happens in 3 months? I got to reschedule this week because the kid is sick or we're going on vacation, and it eventually fades away because you need to pattern interrupt people. You need to change things up on them. And with my plan, and hopefully it works for as many people as I want it to, like what I want to do, I want them to be intense and to get going where they want. So maybe I'm not the guy they hire for the next 100 days. Maybe they outgrow me, which is cool. Hopefully they stick around for a while, but if I get them to a point where they go to someone else, they're better for it. I get good karma and I get to start on the next one. It's awesome.
But then you also have that filter. The people who work best with you, they've been able to find that out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're like a genuinely good fit, like you date a lot of girls, but get married. Like, you know, if you really find somebody that totally works for you, you know. Anyway.
We could do an entire separate show on you don't pick niches, niches pick you, which is a whole separate thing that I train on. But yeah, you find the people that are right for you and those people find you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so we also had like a really brief conversation about technology before this. And one of our previous podcast guests wrote an entire book about, well, the entire book wasn't about this, but he made the very strong point that some people get locked into technology that doesn't serve them. And you were saying the same thing, like one of the things like, you said something like, no offense, tech guy, but sometimes technology really sucks, but I can only agree with you. It's only true, right? So what I'm curious about with you, and I guess this is my last question really, is like, what technology are you using to do all of this? I mean, you're managing a lot. You've got scores of clients and, you know, keeping track of that. I'll admit, I know a few people who do that amount of business on paper. Port Angeles, Washington, the most productive real estate agent, it's all on yellow pads. And that's weird to me because I grew up on a Commodore 64. But so be it. Like, I'm curious though, like what technology actually serves you? Don't mention the ones that suck, just the ones you want.
You know, so, and I went through a ton of them. I was one of those people that was like, you know what's wrong with my business? I'm not spending $97 a month on this new thing. Right. And, and we've all done that where we buy technology to fix a problem or perceived problem. We don't buy technology to serve an actual need. And what I've pared down to, I have one system, which is, for me, it's Keep/Infusionsoft. I put my clients in it. It sends my emails. It does my websites and landing pages. And then I've got another program that's called Elite 360, which has my my course. And that's where the course goes into, and that also sends emails, but it's really just a course platform. And then if you want to build one for me, what I'm still looking for, I have not found a suitable task-related program in the world. So I use something called Pocket Informant, which goes from my Mac to my iPad to my phone, and it works everywhere. It's not perfect. But what I want is I want categories because I've got a house, I've got a life, I've got a business.
Yes.
And those are categories. And under each of those categories, there's a project. I need to redo the deck. I need to hire to redo the landscaping. At business, I need to build out a marketing plan.
Adam,
and those are my categories. And under those categories, I have tasks. And under those tasks, I have dates. That's all I want.
You're giving me flashbacks, man.
I've tried 1,000 of them, but I use
built this in
Elite
Trello.
360 and I use Pocket Informant.
Yeah, I built this in Trello, which is, you know, a Kanban board system.
Yes.
And I had those almost, you were like listing my life. Okay. And I couldn't keep up with it. I couldn't do it. I'd have to see, for me, if it's not open, I forget about it. And you have to close windows every time you turn your computer off, even if you want to like make them open back up when you turn it back on. So what I have now is I have a day planner, and the day planner has a round binding, so it stays open. And that for me was 2 years to figure that out. It just has to be a thing that's there to greet me on its own terms, and I don't have to open it. And now that's what I use now. I wish I could have made Trello work. And then I bought a whiteboard that I use as a Kanban board, and I bought magnetic things and I write the tasks, and I actually have a physical Kanban board because you can't close a whiteboard. Okay, and that's doing 10% of what it should be doing. So I'm with you. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think I had to because I was getting all amped up. But anyway, yes, that's the thing that people need.
I had a very bad dating experience with Trello. So it didn't go well.
Yeah.
2 weeks of my life. I mean, it's like this person you meet and you're like, oh my God, this is the one.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, you're like, oh my God, make him stop calling.
Totally. Yep. That's right.
That was my Trello experience.
That's point number one. You want them to pick up when you call.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I want to pick up when they call.
Right.
So,
well,
I've pared it down to the very basics from a technology and expense standpoint.
Yes.
And, I don't hate technology. I just hate that people think it's going to solve a problem and they don't actually know what they need. And so most of my clients, I pay for myself just getting rid of technology that they're not using.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Adam, this has been fun. I think everybody's got a chance to know, like, and trust you. I think they can have a sense for what, why they would call. But where do they go? How do people get in touch with you?
My website is Coach with AK. There's a bunch of free resources there. My book is there, which is 8 Steps to Make More Money Without Spending a Penny on Marketing or Advertising. You can download it for free.
I'm getting it, just so you know, and you all should too, but I'm definitely downloading that.
It's called The Ultimate Revenue Breakthrough. Literally, it's like step by step, do this thing, and it will help you make more money. And you don't have to spend any money. You don't have to hire me. Or follow me on social media at Adam Kipnes, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. There's only one other Adam Kipnes out there in the entire United States, and he does not have a social media presence. So I am the one. Hopefully there's some nuggets out there. And honestly, any thoughts, feedback, anything you need, I'm an open book. I always tell people, hey, you have a question. Your first 15 minutes is always free. If you don't like me after 15 minutes, you're not going to pay me anyway. So take advantage of 15 minutes or an hour, pick my brain, and let me know how I can help you. Fans of the show, and just happy to help out, because I know if I make your life better, my life gets better.
That's great. Awesome. Thanks, Adam. And I'm glad everyone got a chance to meet you. And I look forward to talking to you after this call, because I got some questions myself.
Fantastic. Definitely. Thanks, BJ. Thanks to the whole Tech Therapy team. I know you've got a whole group behind you that helps out. And thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully there was a good nugget or two and maybe a laugh as well.
All right. Thanks.
BJ Hamaker here. Thanks for listening to the Tech Therapy Podcast. If you're a successful business owner and would like to be a guest on the show, please visit techtherapypodcast.com. If you got something out of this interview, would you share this link on social media, or a screenshot, or just your comments, and include the hashtag TechTherapyPodcast? If you know someone who would be a great guest, tag them on social media and let them know about the show. And remember to use our hashtag TechTherapyPodcast. I love seeing your posts and your guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new content, so please make sure you don't miss anything by hitting subscribe. Your thumbs up, your ratings, your reviews, your comments, they go a long way to promote the show in the algorithms. So please go ahead and, give us a nice comment or review the podcast. If you want to know more, please go to techtherapypodcast.com or follow the show on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. On Instagram, we're at Tech Therapy Podcast. Thank you for listening. We appreciate your time, and we'll see you next time.